Thank you. I want to share my presentation. If you give me the right, okay. Can you give me the right? How can I do it?
Evrim, I don't know. I'm not the one.
You are now co-host. You can do what you want.
Okay. Do you see my presentation?
No, we don't.
Okay, just 1 second, please. Yeah, you.
Yeah. Now we see it. I mean, I see it.
Okay. Good. Dear colleagues, I am pleased to have this opportunity to present to you a brief insight into our current project and sharing with you some empirical results on the contribution of interreligious team teaching lessons to peace education. Before going on to present to you the project from which I take my data, allow me to give you a very brief summary of the context of this project. That is a brief outline of the station of denominational religious education in Austria. Although Austria is a secular state, religions are being supported and freedom of religion is protected by law. There are 16 officially recognized religious groups that are allowed to provide religious education at schools. While denominational religious education means that different religious communities are taught separately, our focus is on team teaching lessons, including Catholic and Islamic pupils and teachers. Referring to that concept, I will use the term interreligious in my talk, although you may be more familiar with the term interfaith. In our project, we use interreligious learning to describe an encounter and discussion on equal terms with other religions. At our institute, we are currently working on a project titled Integration Through Interreligious Education. The project team itself is also interreligious. The project is sponsored by the Department of Integration at the Austrian Chancellery and is headed by Professor Wolfgang Weira. In case you were wondering what part I play in this project, I am responsible for the design and implementation of interreligious teaching sessions, which are planned and taught jointly by Catholic and Islamic religion teachers. These teaching sessions are tested and evaluated at selected high schools in different regions of Austria. After the lessons, the project team conducts open group discussions about their experience with the participating teachers and a few of the students. Some parts of these discussions are what I use as the basis of my presentation today. Now, I would like to continue and present the general aims of our project. The key concept behind it is that interreligious team teaching lessons can serve to promote awareness of religious plurality among peoples. They can learn together from and about their own and other religions by engaging in a dialogue and discovering the parallels and differences between their respective religious traditions. It is anticipated promotes an understanding of each other's religious beliefs and improves social cohesion. So far, the project team has reflected on our experiences from a didactic and theological point of view, always starting out from our interreligious perspective. This is my first effort to discuss some aspects of our findings from the student-teacher discussions with regard to peace education. As of now, we have carried out our project in 4 schools. In this speech, I present to you some results from one particular school. Allow me to begin with the outcome of a discussion between a Catholic and Islamic religion teacher. These two teachers conducted team teaching lessons in a high school on the topic of religious views on love and matrimony. In the following segment, I will share 4 passages from this discussion. I will start by reading quotation and then present a preliminary interpretation. Allow me to begin with the first quotation by religion teacher. The dialogue takes place not only among the pupils, but also between the two of us. And when we talk to each other in front of the class, that is a representative dialogue where, on the one hand, they can listen simply to what we are saying and learn something about the contents. And on the other hand, we act as role models. Unquote. This statement made by one of the teachers expresses the idea that in interreligious learning, a dialogue takes place both between students and among teachers. And of course, it also takes place between teachers and students. Therefore, direct interaction can promote a candid exchange between different religions. Teachers act as role models and pupils learn in 2 ways, both the contents discussed and establishing an open dialogue between the religions. Next, on to the next second teacher quote. He is a Muslim, I am a Catholic, and we don't just talk to each other. We actually get on with each other. And the fact that we have completely different opinions on images of God or on our respective holy scriptures does not imply that we cannot treat each other with respect and humor, or that we cannot sometimes just fool around together and get on well. Unquote. This passage centers around the question of how to deal with differences, that is, the ability to be tolerant and respectful towards other religions' orientations. Obviously, the personal level plays an important part here. Mutual understanding can help us to accept and respect divergent views regarding concepts of God, sacred texts, etc. Again, I am going on to the next quote. And in this space, which is more or less free from fear, you can work in a completely different way from what you can do when there is always some kind of threatening scenario or hierarchical gap, unquote. Here, the discussion is about the creation in a space of interreligious interaction that is as free from anxiety as possible, so that a productive working atmosphere can be created. To this end, it is necessary that teachers break down hierarchies and do not allow elements of threat to evolve. In such an environment, an interreligious dialogue can then take place on equal terms. I would now like to move on to the last teacher quote. I think that is, in the end, it is big plus. Eventually realizing that the difference is real and that there is nothing threatening about that. We are not the same, we don't treat the same, we don't pray the same, and yet he is all right the way he is okay, and he should be allowed to be what he is. And I am all right the way I am okay, and I should be allowed to be what I am. The true art we have got to learn is to accept our differences and to consider them not a threat, but something we all can profit from. Unquote. In this passage, the teacher emphasizes the reality of the differences between religious beliefs. It is important to learn to accept that fact. This can only be achieved when differences are not perceived as threatening. Only then do we get the chance to perceive and accept others as they are. You now have an idea of teachers' stance on inter-religious learning. After this insight into the teacher discussion, I would like to go on to the results of the student discussion. Again, I will present a total of 4 passages. The first quote runs as follows: "To be not always focusing on our own religion, but to see also what religion is like for the others," unquote. What can be derived from this passage? It is a statement made by a student who expresses the intention to broaden his own horizon and acquire knowledge about other religions in order to get to know other religions' views. And interaction or discussion with representatives of other religions, as well as learning about religious diversity, make it possible to break away of one's own limited worldview. Allow me to continue with the following quote. "Yes, there are many similarities between the religions that you simply wouldn't accept. And there are also many prejudices that get eliminated. Prejudices you simply have because you learn them, for example, from your parents or generally from your family, from the way they talk about other religions at home. And that is why I think such projects are great," unquote. This student addresses the prejudices that are often the result of one's socialization or education. These prejudices can be overcome by interacting with others. Finding the similarities between the religions can contribute to this process. This takes us right to the next quote, that you can also form your own opinions on other religions and see what differences there are, what similarities there are, and that you don't just repeat what you get to hear at home, unquote. Another student discusses the empowerment to form one's own opinion, thus replacing at least partially formally adopted convictions. This allows for differences and similarities to be identified, which would otherwise have remained unrecognized. In order for such insights to be gained, however, it is necessary that interreligious learning enables pupils to reflect on their habitual orientations and to distance themselves from them, so they are then free to develop their own approach to other religions. We now have reached the last quote. Well, in my opinion, in both religions, for example, human rights are very important, because just as we are taught not to hurt other people and to value other people and treat them well, so are the Christians, unquote. In this passage, the people discovers common ground between Islam and Christianity in their emphasis on universal human rights. On the basis of such shared convictions, the possibility of understanding then arises. Mutual recognition and appreciation are important prerequisites for living together in a multi-religious society. This is the end of my exemplary analysis. What conclusions then we can draw from the data I have presented about peace education in interreligious lessons? I am presenting the following points as they arise in the list of aims of peace education according to the German religious pedagogue Elisabeth Neurath. Let me first say a word about the promotion of compassion and empathy. Viewed from a subject-oriented perspective, interreligious learning means seeking a dialogue with others in order to help us understand and reflect on our own feelings, thereby improving our competences in interpersonal interaction. The meeting with the other can serve to arise awareness in students and teachers and to make them develop respect towards those of a different faith. As a result, interreligious learning contributes to greater tolerance and peacefulness. My next point is learning to talk about and discuss religion and religions. A verbal exchange with others and the self-reflection associated with it offer an opportunity of divining one's own standpoint and experiencing how to peacefully accept other perspectives. In interreligious lessons, students get to talk to each other, thus developing an ability to exchange in dialogue. Such interactions give both students and teachers the opportunity to talk about their worries and prejudices on equal terms, without fear or hierarchies. Finally, all this is also about accepting and embracing differences and pluralism. One important aspect of the whole project is the realization that neither Christianity or Islam are a homogeneous group, but must be understood in all their diversities. In interreligious lessons, teachers and pupils get the chance to question traditional interpretations and patterns of thinking and to enter into an open discourse. This helps to put their individual position into perspective and to avoid religious fundamentalism or an absolute view of one's personal faith. Interreligious learning means developing the ability to reflect on religious and ideological similarities and differences. And when it comes to differences, it is important to approach them open-mindedly, attentively, and respectfully. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I am glad to have been able to present to you some thoughts and ideas from our current research project. Please bear in mind this discourse on the role of interreligious education in peace education is continually evolving, and that my findings are by no means final results. Enjoy the next speaker.